Well, here we are back in Murray County, south of Columbia, aren't we, Mr. Horn? I've heard that some of the finest old houses in Tennessee are in this county, particularly the houses built by members of the Polk family. Which one are we going to visit today?
As you say, the Polks were a family of builders. They were among the earliest settlers in Middle Tennessee. They were men of substance and standing and good taste. And the houses the Polks built more than a century ago are still noted in Murray County, which is a county justly celebrated for its many fine old mansions.
Oh, will we have a chance to see all of the Polk places?
Well, unfortunately, we can't visit all these famous old Polk family places, imposing and beautiful as they are. So I thought that today we'd visit the one which is perhaps the most impressive of all of them, certainly the most famous of them, the place that was called Rattle and Snap.
Oh, I've heard of Rattle and Snap all my life, and its name's always intrigued me. So before we get there, tell me something about it, Mr. Horn. How did it got such an odd name? Who built it and when? You know, when you speak of the Polks, I wondered, too, are you talking about President James K. Polk?
No, the Polk who became president was not the one who built Rattle and Snap, but he was a cousin. Perhaps I'd better straighten out the Polk family connection before we talk about the house.
Well, I wish you would. I've always heard it was a big, very interesting family.
And an important family. The Polks came to this part of the country from North Carolina soon after the Revolutionary War. There was Ezekiel Polk, who brought his son Samuel, and it was Samuel who became the father of the James Knox Polk, who was elected president in 1844. Along with Ezekiel came his cousin, Colonel William Polk, who was the father of 4 sons, Leonidas, Lucius, Andrew, and George. Leonidas, who later became an Episcopal bishop and also a general in the Confederate Army, built Ashwood Hall in this county, which he sold to his brother Andrew when he moved to Louisiana. Lucius, in 1832, built Hamilton Place, which is still occupied by his descendants. It was George who built Rattle and Snap in 1845.
Why was it called Rattle and Snap, Mr. Horn? That's the thing I want to know about.
Well, according to the family tradition, Colonel William Polk, before his emigration to Murray County, was playing a dice game with the governor of North Carolina, a game called Rattle and Snap, which to me sounds suspiciously like our modern game of craps, where, so I've been told, the players rattle the dice and snap their fingers.
So you've been told, huh?
Well, of course, I don't know anything about that personally. But anyhow, Colonel William had a lucky day and won from the unlucky governor some Revolutionary War land scrip, which was issued to the soldiers of that war as a sort of soldier's bonus. It was through this scrip that Colonel Polk acquired this land. And to serve as a constant reminder of that fact, he called it Rattle and Snap. But here we are. This is where we turn off the Columbia Mount Pleasant Pike and go on up to the house.
Oh, there it is. Even from this distance, I can see what a wonderful place it is, sitting up there on the rising ground at the end of this long drive.
Now, it is a long driveway, about a quarter of a mile long, I believe, designed to give the visitor a good long time to drink in the magnificence of the house before he gets to it.
And to drink in the magnificence of this view, Mr. Horn, I can see, oh, my, what a wonderful setting it is.
It's a beautiful pastoral scene. Well, here we are at the house. Let's get out of the car and take a look at it.
Oh, yes, let's do. Oh, what a beautiful place. Look at all those wonderful columns across the front. Let's see, there's 1, 2, 3, 6, 8, 9. There's 10 of them. I don't believe I ever saw such an array of columns on a residence before.
Probably not. So far as I know, there's nothing quite like it anywhere, at least not around this part of the country. One of the country's leading architects once called Rattle and Snap the most monumental house in Tennessee, and that impressive array of beautiful Corinthian columns is one of the distinctive architectural features which makes the house worthy of that description.
I really never saw anything like this before. Were the columns made here on the place, Mr. Horn?
No, those columns were made in Cincinnati and shipped in sections by steamboat to Nashville, then hauled by ox cart from Nashville to Columbia, and then out here to the building site.
You know, I'm still amazed at how these magnificent old homes were built during those days. Are the columns solid?
No, the columns are hollow. And that reminds me of an interesting story. During the war between the states, when it became necessary to hide the family silver, one of the small boys of the Polk family was lowered down into one of the hollow columns. He placed the silverware on a little platform in there where it remained safe until the war was over.
I shouldn't think anyone would ever think of looking in there. It certainly is an impressive and attractive place. Not only this big front entrance portico here, but also those two little side entries on the right and left there.
Yes, those entries or side porticos are an especially interesting architectural feature. You notice that the one on the right is a pure classic four-columned Corinthian order with wood columns rising from a stone-paved platform, while the one on the left is a delicate but elaborate porch and balcony cast-iron assembly.
That's suggestive of the cast-iron work we usually see in New Orleans,
Yes,
isn't it?
it looks a good deal like it. But let's go inside and look at the interior. That's really something worthwhile.
Well, this interior is different from most of the houses we've been visiting, isn't it? I miss that long, wide central hall, but this spacious foyer is lovely, isn't it? Just look at the Corinthian columns here as we go into the side hall. Who was the architect, Mr. Horn?
The identity of the architect of Rattle and Snap is unknown, but he was evidently a master of his craft.
Indeed he was.
This repetition of the Corinthian influence ties in the foyer with the outside portico, and the plaster cornices, you see, though elaborate and ornate, are in perfect taste.
Yes, they are.
And here to the right is the stair hall with a semicircular stairway up to the second floor with its plain but attractive rail and balusters.
You know, this is a surprisingly large house after you get inside of it. What were all these rooms used for? They all lived in?
Well, this room to the right of the entrance hall was used as a music room or drawing room. The door on the left-hand side of the hall there leads into the front parlor, you see.
Oh, this is an enormous room.
Well, yes, it is. It's really two rooms. The familiar arrangement of the front and rear parlor, each with its individual fireplace. And the two rooms were originally separated by two Corinthian columns like those in the hall, but those have been removed. Now, if you go back into the hall, we'll go back to the dining room, which is something extra distinctive.
This looks like a double room, Mr. Holmes.
And that's just what it is, a double dining room.
We've never seen one of these before, have we, on our journeys?
No, I've never seen one like it anywhere. The room on your right, you see, is connected directly by a little hall with the service wing and the kitchen, and this was the room used under ordinary circumstances. But when there was an overflow of guests, and this wasn't an unusual state of affairs at Rattle and Snap, the two rooms could be thrown together into one big dining room, which could accommodate everybody.
And I imagine there were large numbers here to be accommodated, too. Well, here we are now in the back hall, huh? I'd like to take a look upstairs, Mr. Horn.
Well, all right. That beautiful stairway certainly is inviting. Let's go on up.
The balusters seem to be more simple design than most that we've seen, aren't they? What is this wood, by the way?
Well, it's worn dark with age, giving it a patina and beauty all its own. I think it was probably cherry or walnut. It was customary in the early days in the building of these old houses for the visiting cabinet makers to make use of the native hardwoods, and either cherry or walnut would probably have been growing on this place, and in preparation for the building of the house, the trees would have been cut down and sawed and lumber seasoned.
Well, there's plenty of room up here on the second floor, isn't there? How many rooms are there on this floor?
There are 5 bedrooms in the main part of the house and 3 more back in the service room. There's a bedroom to the right, just over the music room downstairs. Then to the rear there are 2 rooms arranged in a suite, with the entrance to the larger room only through the smaller one. Then, you see, there's a little hall to the left separating 2 more of those spacious old-fashioned rooms, each with 2 doors, leading into the main hall and into the cross hall, but each having only one window.
Mm-hmm.
This narrow hall, you see, leads to the rear L-shaped portico or gallery, which gives access to the service wing.
Oh, yes. Well, isn't this a convenient arrangement? A nice wide gallery upstairs and down. This must have been a wonderfully cool place to sit on summer evenings. Oh, are those the servant quarters over there, Mr. Horn?
That's right. There are 3 rooms there in the L, and going through this door, we are in the entry to the back stairs.
Oh, yes.
Let's walk down here.
Well, this is an attractive stairway itself, even if it's in the service wing, isn't it? Circular sweep is just beautiful. Mighty convenient, too. You know, this house is not only big, but it was arranged for comfortable, gracious living, wasn't it?
Yes, you're absolutely right about that. It's just like the architect said, a monumental house, with all that implies.
Mm-hmm.
But here we are back downstairs on the back gallery. You see, these rooms adjoining the gallery were originally used for pantry and storage.
Oh, yeah.
And later, one of them was used as a kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
The original kitchen, you see,
Mm-hmm.
was the brick building to the rear, detached, as were all the southern kitchens in the old days.
Well, where were the gardens? Surely a house of this magnificence had beautiful gardens.
Well, we passed by a few rose bushes in front of the house as we came in, but Rattle and Snap's gardens, unfortunately, are, for the most part, in the past tense. There were, years ago, elaborate, formal gardens with beautiful rose beds and 3 greenhouses. All traces of this, however, have vanished. The place, as is all too obvious, has been neglected for a long time and is rapidly sinking into disrepair. Today, Rattle and Snap is just a gaunt shadow of its former grandeur.
Isn't that a pity? Does the place still belong to the Polk family, Mr. Horn?
No. Rattle and Snap was bought from the Polks in 1867 by Mr. Joseph J. Granberry, and it remained in the Granberry family for more than 50 years, occupied as a home and continuing its traditions of gracious hospitality during all that time. It's now owned by the owner and occupant of one of the adjacent historic old places, and the house, this nationwide famous Rattle and Snap mansion house, is occupied by the custodian.
Is it open to the public?
No, it's not open to the public, but its fame and its magnificence are such that it has scores of visitors every year anyway who see it from the pike and drive up to look at it, enjoy looking at it even in its neglected state, dreaming of its former grandeur and hoping that before it's too late, it may be rescued and restored.
You know, Mr. Horn, I've heard a number of people express that very same wish. Now, next week is our last stop on our sentimental journey, isn't it?
Yes, I believe it is.
Have you anything special that you're going to show me next week?
Well, I've got an extra special for you for the last visit, one that'll form a climax for the series, I believe. It'll be interesting to you.
Going to be a surprise, huh?
Yes, I'm not going to tell you where we're going. I'll keep that as a surprise until next Sunday.
Well, I'm looking forward to that. I've enjoyed these trips so much, Mr. Horn, and thanks a lot for today.